How will your inheritance affect your Medi-Cal or Covered California health plan? Hi, I'm Kevin Knaus with InsureMeKevin.com. And when someone receives an inheritance from a family member or a friend that has passed on, that can impact your eligibility for certain Medi-Cal programs and can affect the subsidies for Covered California. But let's look at some of the different types of Medi-Cal. Now, if you are receiving Medi-Cal because you applied through Covered California, you most likely have MAGI Medi-Cal, Modified Adjusted Gross Income Medi-Cal. Now, MAGI Medi-Cal only looks at your monthly income. It does not take into consideration any assets like cars, homes, boats, stocks, apartment buildings you may own. It looks solely at your monthly income. So when someone receives an inheritance and potentially a large amount of money, that is generally considered a one-time lump sum distribution that goes into a savings account and just becomes an asset. It is not looked upon as monthly income. And that's what MAGI Medi-Cal is really focused on. What is your monthly income, and is it above the threshold for eligibility into Covered California or Medi-Cal? Now, it is always good, and you really should report any inheritance to your Medi-Cal case eligibility worker. And again, they probably will say, okay, well, thank you so much, but it won't affect your eligibility because it is not monthly income. But you agreed to report any changes to your household status within 10 days. So once you receive the inheritance, not before, then you can file a status change report with Medi-Cal to update them. Now, there are many non-MAGI Medi-Cal health insurance programs and non-health insurance. Also, they're called conditional Medi-Cal. Now, conditional or non-MAGI Medi-Cal, they look at both the income and your assets. So receiving an inheritance any amount can affect an eligibility for a particular person. Sometimes for like Medi-Cal and Medicare, dual eligible, you can only have like $8,400 in countable resources for some of the different programs to qualify. So an inheritance may, push you out of that. That's why you need to report it. However, not all of the inherited property may count against you, because the way Medi-Cal looks at it, there's money, liquidable assets, stocks, bonds, and then there are other assets or resources that do not count against your eligibility, like your primary residence. You can own one car, some of your jewelry, furniture, things like that. And an inheritance may be more than just money. There may be other things involved. So it's always good to report that to Medi-Cal, let them know what's going on, and your Medi-Cal caseworker say, oh, okay, well, some of this stuff we're not going to count, other stuff we have to add in, but you're still below the thresholds, so it may all be good. Now, another aspect is Covered California. And similar to MAGI Medi-Cal, when someone receives an inheritance of money, it just becomes an asset. And if that asset is not taxable, it doesn't affect them. Now, sometimes in inheritance, sometimes it can be taxable because there has to be a property, a sale, and things of that nature, and it may trigger a capital gains that has to be reported as taxable income. So that's one thing you'll need to think about. Also, if the inherited funds or assets generate taxable income, like a rental property that is all of a sudden generating monthly income to you, and a portion of that is going to be taxable after you deduct your expenses, you need to think about reporting that as income, because the subsidies for Covered California are based on your estimated annual household income. And if the inheritance generates taxable income that makes your income go up, you may have to repay some of the subsidies. So get with your agent, or with Covered California, a good tax preparer. Sometimes you may have to talk to an attorney to see how this all plays out for your particular situation. But in summary, if you have MAGI Medi-Cal and you receive an inheritance, more than likely it's not going to count against you because it's just going to become an asset. It is not monthly income. If you have non-MAGI Medi-Cal, conditional Medi-Cal, good possibility that it's going to change your eligibility for one of the programs that you're in, but it may not be as bad as you think, but you always need to report it. And then for Covered California, if you receive an inheritance, the thing you need to remember is, will this be generating any taxable income, either because you have to sell one of the assets or you're deriving an income stream from it, and that needs to be reported on your Covered California application. So those are some of the different areas you need to consider. If you receive an inheritance, which that's sometimes a good thing, a gift from heaven, but of course we have to have lost a loved one. So for health insurance, I'm Kevin Knaus with InsureMeKevin.com.